Good afternoon everyone, welcome my 12th class students. Today we start with our topic human health and disease. Children, you must be familiar with this word human health and disease. Though it has a scientific and biological meaning also, and we need to know what is the concern for our health and what are diseases. There are many things which affect our health. Commonly we say that a person who has no disease, no disorder and is totally fit is a healthy person. But children mind that there are certain aspects which deal with the health. The first one is genetic disorders. Second is infections, and third is our lifestyle. These are three major aspects which affect our health. Now, one by one, we will study how these concepts, how these aspects they affect our health. Again, I repeat that disease does not mean that we are having problem physically, mentally or socially. Or we can say that we should not understand that we are healthy if we are fit. No, this is not like that. Our health is concerned on genetic disorders, infections as well as lifestyle. The first one is genetic disorders. Many disorders, many factors they are inherited from our parents. These disorders they pass from one generation to another generation. That is transmission of characters. It takes place from one generation to another generation. Second factor is infections. Nowadays we all are familiar with coronavirus, we are familiar with COVID, we are familiar with typhoid, we are familiar with entamoeba. All these things they lead to infections. What is an infection? Infection is anything that we acquire from outside and we suffer. Our health is affected by that. Third is our lifestyle. We say that we are living a very good, very healthy lifestyle, but you can analyze yourself. For example, you can answer yourself. Suppose my first question is that we start with our breakfast. Which type of breakfast you are having? Fried or sprout? If your answer is sprout, that means that your lifestyle is healthy. Second is, are you having a good sleep or you are taking naps in between or you are again and again conscious about sleep? If your answer is you take one good sleep, that means you are leading a healthy lifestyle. Next, you can answer yourself exercise. We say that I am doing exercise, I am going for a walk. If you are going for a walk, if you are doing exercise, that means you are leading a healthy lifestyle. All these factors are responsible for our health. From where this concept of health came? Let us discuss that. In the olden times, Greeks like Aristotle, they believed that the people who were having black bile is a fluid, black bile, they had high body temperature. Further researches were done and very famous biologist William Harvey, he discovered circulatory system and circulation of blood. And he discovered that the old concept was not appropriate. Then came the concept that our health deals with mind, or vice versa. We can say that our mind is responsible for our health. Now I will tell you about how mind is responsible for our health. If we come to mind, mind is affected by, mind is affected by, mind is the main center which is responsible for our health. How? Mind, it involves the neural transmissions, that is the nervous system, as well as endocrine secretions, as well as our immunity, are responsible for our health. Neurotransmission and endocrine secretions, they directly affect our mind. Immunity, it balances the responses against the various diseases. Now, to define health, what is health? After now, we have studied that many aspects are responsible for health. So we can summarize in short that health is mental, physical and social well-being of a person. That is, if a person is mentally fit, socially fit, as well as physically fit, then we can say that person is completely healthy. But if any of these things are missing, that means a person has some disorder or disease. Now, students, we come to our topic, disease. What is a disease? If you come to the meaning of disease and break this word, then you understand what is disease. This, break it, ease. That means when we are not in an easy mode, that is called as disease. These diseases, they can be categorized as of two types. The first type is genetic. As I told you, genetic aspect is also responsible for our health, and second is acquired. We discussed just now genetic, that means these diseases, they are inherited from one generation to another generation. Genes, they are transmitted from one generation to another. That is why you must have noticed when we go to doctors, when we have any severe disease, then they ask our history. Was anyone suffering from so and so disease? Why? Because genetic factors are responsible for certain diseases. Next is acquired. Acquired means what we achieve from our surroundings, what we get from our surroundings. These diseases, they are of two types, that is infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. Non-infectious diseases. I explained you genetic diseases. Now infectious diseases. Infectious diseases, these are the diseases, these are the disorders which are transmitted, mind that they are transmitted from sick person to healthy person. For example, influenza, cold and cough, pneumonia, they are transmitted. Tuberculosis, they are transmitted from healthy person to sick person. Non-infectious diseases, they remain to that particular person only. For example, cancer, it is non-infectious diseases. Now, for genetic disorders, we discussed that certain factors are responsible. Over here, certain organisms and other cells and other disorders are responsible for non-infectious. Infectious diseases, as I told you, they are passed from the sick person to healthy person. The organisms which transmit, which cause these infectious diseases, the organisms which cause these infectious diseases, they are called as pathogens. They are called as pathogens. So what are pathogens? Pathogens are organisms which cause these infectious diseases. Disease causing organisms are called as pathogens. Then the organisms which carry these pathogens, they are called as vectors. What are vectors? Vectors are the organisms which carry pathogens. Non-infectious, for example, I told you cancer, they develop in our body. There are many causes like carcinogens, pollutants, radiations, all these are the various causes of such type of diseases. How these infectious diseases, they are transmitted? How do we get the infection of these infectious diseases? Just now I told you that disease causing organisms, they are called as pathogens, and the organisms which carry these pathogens, they are called as vectors. Correct? These pathogens, they are carried by various ways, that is by water, by contaminated food, by soil, by animal bite, by using belongings of the infected person. These are the various ways by which these infectious diseases, they are transmitted from sick person to healthy person. Correct? Next we move to that what are various types of pathogens or disease causing microorganisms. The first class is bacteria. Second is viruses. Third is fungi. And fourth one we can take as protozoans. These are various type of organisms or microbes which are responsible for carrying what we are discussing as infectious or communicable diseases. I'll give you examples fast. Bacteria. One of the major disease caused by bacteria is typhoid, and this is caused by bacteria called as typhoid salmonella. This is called by bacteria which is called as bacteria salmonella. Second, this typhoid, it shows the symptoms of high fever, nearly about 45 degrees Celsius. Then very high fevers are seen. Then person has headache, constipation, vomiting sensation. All these are the various symptoms of this typhoid. One of the common tests that has been discovered for this is Widal test. You must remember this. Widal test is a check test for typhoid, which is caused by bacteria called as Salmonella typhi. Next, we can prevent it by drinking pure or purified water, then taking good food, covered food, prevent from junk soil, prevent ourselves from the animals and insects. Then next class of organisms which is viruses. These viruses, they are responsible for causing cold and cough. That is very common. And a special class of these viruses which causes cold and cough is a group of viruses called as rhinoviruses. Rhinoviruses, they are responsible for causing cold and cough. I hope you all know what are viruses. Viruses are the organisms. Viruses are the organisms which have their genome as RNA. We've been listening a lot about this coronavirus. They have genome as RNA, but when they incorporate in the human cell or in the living cell, they change their genome as DNA. RNA is changed to DNA. Same happens in HIV also, AIDS also. So this rhinovirus, it is responsible for causing cold, cough, influenza, all this. Again, the symptoms are secretions from the nasal passage, sore throat, fever. These are the symptoms. We can prevent it. Again, it is infectious or communicable disease. Person must remain isolated in this, and the healthy person should try to avoid the things like pen, mouse, remotes, their belongings, towels, etc. to use. Next is fungi. These funguses, they cause ringworms, and mainly skin diseases are caused by these funguses. Then we have worms also like ascariasis, phylariasis. They are also caused by these worms like Ascaris lumbricoid. It causes ascariasis. Then phylariasis. It is again caused by filarial worm. Then we have Bacteria. It causes various skin diseases, as well as elephantiasis is also caused by these worms. Now comes one of the important topics of your syllabus, that is diseases caused by protozoans, and specifically graphical representation is mentioned in your syllabus. That means life cycle of malarial parasite, that is Plasmodium vivax, is to be studied. Students, you must have heard about malaria. Malaria is a very common disease. This disease is caused by protozoan, as I told you last time, and this protozoan is called as Plasmodium. There are various species of Plasmodium like Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium malariae. Plasmodium falciparum is a very fatal disease causing microorganism. Then Plasmodium vivax, it causes common malaria. How this Plasmodium is carried? The vector for this Plasmodium vivax is female Anopheles mosquito. What happens in this life cycle, this malaria life cycle, it is completed in two hosts. First host is female Anopheles and second host is human host. The infected female Anopheles, it bites a healthy person. This infection, this saliva of infected Anopheles, it has sporozoites, and they are injected with bite of the female Anopheles. See, Plasmodium now reaches the liver. From liver, it it carries reproduction. Then asexual reproduction is carried. Asexual reproduction is carried, and then asexual reproduction takes place in liver cells. When this reproduction is completed, then these liver cells, they burst and they are released in the blood. Parasite reproduces asexually in RBCs. When this bursting of RBCs takes place, then a chemical called hemozoin is liberated. You must have come across that the major symptom of malaria is fevers with chills, high fevers. Why do we have that high fever? The answer to this is we have high fevers because when RBCs they burst, they liberate a substance, a chemical which is called as hemozoin. Now, these infected RBCs, they infect other new RBCs, and now the stage comes which is called as gametogenesis. That is, this stage, it takes place in RBCs. That is, sexual stages, they take place, that is male gametocytes and female gametocytes, they are formed. When they are formed, then again sporozoites are developed, and these gametocytes are taken up by female mosquito. When these gametocytes they go to the female's body, then fertilization and development of these gametocytes, it takes place in the gut of female anaphylis. When this takes place, then a mature infective stage is developed, and that mature infective stage, it is from gut to saliva. It reaches from gut, that is intestine, digestive system of anaphylis, to the saliva, that is mouth. Again, this infected anaphylis mosquito, female anaphylis mosquito, it bites the healthy person, sporozoites are formed, so on. Again, the life cycle of Plasmodium, it is covered or it is continued from one to another. This is how it is done in two hosts, that is human host as well as in anaphylis mosquito. This is about the life cycle of Plasmodium vivax, which causes malaria. Thank you.